listening to Strides and Vibes. Whether you're on a long run, a lunch break, or stretching out with your foam roller, welcome to the podcast all about moving better, living healthier, and vibing higher. I'm your host, Mario Buchs, elite running coach, ultra endurance athlete, and founder of Healthetica Coaching, coming to you from the trails, tracks, and streets of Gadigal country in Sydney, Australia. Each episode, I'll bring in guests from all walks, from coaches, athletes to world-class performers, as well as doctors and professionals in their fields, to unpack their stories and explore the mindset shifts, science, and practical strategies that help us go the distance in running and in life. So, lace up, tune in, and let's move towards a better you, one stride at a time. Hello. Welcome back, or welcome to the Strides and Vibes podcast. Hopefully we're going to get a newer audience as well, a few new people this year. We've got a hell of a lot of guests lined up, and today, no other than Gary Mullins, very famous running coach in Australia, but first and foremost, at this present time, he's the mighty Autra president. We'll dissect what Autra stands for. I call him the super coach. He started TRT Running from very humble beginnings. He's a personal trainer, knows the running body inside out, and most people might know the poor bugger is also my coach since probably 8 years now. So he knows how to fight awkward people. But hey, Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mario. I've just put my book down. I was just reading a book while you were talking.
That's it. That's
always I'm not listening.
People get through encyclopedias once I talk. But that's why we have so many people who want to run with me. It makes the runs a hell of a lot shorter. So, Gary, again, thanks for coming on. It's very
Thanks
much
for having me, Mario. I've been waiting.
And I've been looking forward to this one. We've been building up. So, Gary, what makes you you? Gary Mullins.
It's still a work in progress, Mario. Mate, do you know what makes me me? I'm a coach. I've always been self-taught on 90% of the things I take on, whether it's small business. I've been pretty well self-employed since I was 23. The only course I've done was a accounting course at TAFE, and then got into personal training, which is, we all know how you get there, and then coaching. I apply myself. My old man said, you can be anything that you want to be, but you've got to apply yourself. You've got to be prepared to take the knocks. You got to learn to know when you're wrong, admit when you're wrong, but that doesn't mean you fail. What that means is you look at yourself, you reflect, and you say, how can I do that better? And it's like something I've just done all my life, and that makes up me. I try to keep it pretty simple.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. I think that's also why a lot of people follow you, like you, want to be around you, which I'm one of them. I have to be honest, it kind of clicked the first time we met, and that's good, because Gary today is the same guy tomorrow like he was yesterday. But, from where I know you, you always want to improve yourself, but deep down, you're always the same guy. So just going back to the origin story now, coaching, right? Because you are the coach, super coach Gary, or Coach G, as you like to be called. You were in the corporate world. I know this, obviously, with accounting and stuff. So then at 23, what shifted? Said, why did you shift to what? I can only imagine, and many of the listeners might imagine as well. But look, it's personal to everybody,
I'm the black sheep of the family. I don't follow that normal path that others prefer to tread. I like to go off on the windy tracks. At the age of 23, like my wife Anna and I, we had an opportunity to take in a small business, and we grabbed it and went with it. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of challenges. And what it taught me, it's interesting. The age of 23, I used to run. I wasn't bad at it, but there was no vision of like where I would end up, where I am today. Over that 10 years, I'd say running your own business, biggest business we had 64 employees. Probably 90% of those were 18 years of age and under, and it was entertainment. So it was always fun. You've got to have fun with whatever you do, right? But along that journey, I was in franchising. You learn the people that you meet, they teach you little things, which funny enough, when I got into coaching, I realized that 10 years was big part and a big key of me becoming the coach that I wanted to be, that, maybe I am today.
Yeah, we can't leave out your running. We'll get to that later on because,
Yeah.
of course, I introduced you as the super coach and Autra president and the founder of TRT Running, coming from running groups first. And you're also the head coach there. For people who might not know, I'm your junior coach there, which is also a lot of fun. And we have a lot of good discussions about our runners and how we want to manage this. And I learn a lot there all the time. So, yeah,
We're
obviously
not
your running
sharing
is very
that
important.
conversations, are we?
Huh?
We're not
Absolutely.
sharing those conversations with.
No. They're like they're non-disclosure agreements between you and me. It's like, but it's always important. No, I think joking aside, I think
Yeah.
it's very important for me to sometimes bounce a few things off and say, hey,
Yeah.
we're doing this, that, and the other. Sometimes I don't even say who the runner is and vice versa.
Yeah.
And we ask each other, and this is always good. And also when I take a runner on, it's important for them to know, yes, they're coached by me, but there's a hell of a lot of knowledge behind me where I make sure I don't make a huge mistake with their
Yeah.
runner. But I mean, a lot of people who know who are in coaching, it doesn't even matter what part of coaching. And on past episodes, we discussed this with other people as well, sales coaches, life coaches, and so on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to, take a chance with something and say, oh, let's just try this out. But we need to be open and honest and say, hey, we're going to try this out. This might not be
Yeah.
proven and scientifically registered anywhere, and you can't read up on it, but let's just give this a shot. That's how they started in the 60s and even earlier.
If you keep
You
doing
know.
the same thing, you keep getting the same
We're
results,
going to get
right?
yeah, correct. You're
Cliche
going to get
saying,
nowhere.
but it's so true.
Good. So, okay. So you became a personal trainer. I
Yeah.
don't want to
So
assume, but you wanted
want
to know a
the
little bit about the
you
body,
want
huh?
you want the journey a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right. I'll try and keep it short, cover everything. So when we moved back to Sydney, I went and tried to get back into the corporate world, and I wasted 6 months of my life there. And I said, "What am I going to do?" And I went, "You know what? Go and become a PT." And straight off the bat, I was like, I just fell in amongst runners. I don't know how, it just happened. And I'd already been doing some coaching up on the Gold Coast of a few people up there. And in 2000, part of my PT journey, there was a guy, Rob D, we called him, who was pretty significant through the Fitness First chain down around St. Leonard's and Mossman. And it's funny, you bring his name up today. Even Martin worked with him back in 2008 and 9. So our world's big, but it's really small in the people in our environment. He had an idea of starting a running group. We started it in Manly, Northside Runners, Mike Snell. So they all know Pace, that used to be called Northside Runners. And we started that in 2012. We just celebrated our 14th year last week, running out of Manly. I started with 3 runners, took 3 runners to Great Ocean Road. Following year, we had 10 runners. And then by 2014, I think we were up to 50, 60 runners. By then, Rob wanted to go different directions. So I took over running groups, and I wanted to associate what we did coaching, because I could see that, well, it was Rob's vision, but I could see that, running groups were going to become a big thing of the future. But we also needed to be associated with a running club, because we had runners that wanted to compete at track and road state titles and national titles. So I jumped in on a committee with Sydney Athletics, Sydney Pacific. athletics club up on the Northern Beaches. Really, really nice guys, but I just found there was a lot of rust. And, when you've been somewhere a long time and haven't moved on, things don't change really quickly. So Keith Hong said, do you know you can start an athletics club? And I went, really? With a NSW? And he's like, yep. So registered TRT, Truck Road Trail, started, continued on. Oh man, it's pretty cool to be involved in this, but I think everyone goes, oh, you've got the experience as a coach and all of that. 90% of the runners in our group, as you know, Mario, they pick their races. They race all over the world, trail, road, marathons, whatever. And, we've had success within the club, defined success. You can define it by, races we've won or podium or everything like that. I think success is, I know, and you know yourself, if you got a runner doing Western States, we've had runners there. UTMB, we've had runners there. Tarawera, which is on, we've had runners there. I think the only one we've identified that we haven't raced at is Hard Rock. And I think we're still waiting for your entry to pop up one year. And we've got experience within the club, coaching. And when you've got that within the club, it makes what you and I do pretty easy. We know people, if they talk about a certain race, they're talking about it because they've done it. And, I could talk about a whole lot of other things on the journey, but when I look at where we are at the moment, that's the thing that I say to myself, that's pretty cool. And it's been created. Yeah, started it, but it's been created by the runners that have joined and still with us, and just creating those opportunities and experiences. And that's the number one reason I got into this, was to do that for adults and juniors.
Always the human side first as well. You've coached and you've led and you've shaped athletes, and I've seen that, and most of them are still there. It's always about the human side. And I think this is also my biggest learning from you. This is what I follow. Human first, athlete second, because
Yeah.
then humans become athletes. Athletes don't suddenly become human.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my philosophy. Because we're going to walk into Autra now, or run into Autra. So how's running evolved? So you've now been in this game for 14 years. As a coach and a runner yourself, you've taken on a huge role. The Australian Ultra and Trail Running Associations, or you're heading that up as the president. Obviously, that's part of your path. I'm not saying you're at the top of the mountain, but you're definitely climbing a huge mountain here. Or maybe you're just circumnavigating Mont Blanc. That's also possible. You're closing the circle. So what's your experience there? What have you achieved? You've been there a year now, I gather. So what led you to
9 months. 9
do
months.
this? 9 months. Okay, sorry. So what led you to do this, and what was your number one objective when you took on this big role? Because it's a huge role.
Yeah. I've been involved in Autra since 2015, started as an athlete. And I was lucky enough, through people involved then, sent me some decent runners my way to help out, to help progress into better ultra runners, and been on a few committees within Autra, national selector for a couple of years, and then also state rep for a couple of years. And I've got to watch my words here. But one of the driving reasons behind it, there was a bit of a split happening within the ultra running world, not the trail world, the ultra running world. People weren't happy with the direction it was going. So, which is fair enough. I was approached 12 months earlier to get into it, to try, jump in, but I wasn't ready. I need to be certain, and obviously a role like that, it's volunteer, but I don't look at it that way. It's like, well, if you're taking on a position, you've got to do it right. But I thought I could make an impact, because, as you know, I'd had 3 athletes that had been affected by Autra. One had defected to Germany. And that was, a big reason why I wanted to get in there and change the experience, because a governing body is responsible to look after the sport. Our sport, what does it encompass? We've had trail running now for that came in 2024. So we're, into our second year having that, working with Autra as well. So that's 83% of our members. So it's a big part of what we do. We've got insurance that we offer race directors. We try and look after race directors and help start shaping how that should look, because no one's ever done that before. We need to look after the volunteers and then also the land that we run on, recognizing the land that we run on, and also putting back into the trails that we run on. But it's about, we're there to serve all of those people, including the athletes, the runners, right? And I just felt at that time that Autra wasn't serving the runners or the community properly. It was more like, dare I say this, it was more like you serve us. And I just think that's the wrong way to look at it. And I tell you what, this is, if I could swear, I would, but this is the hardest thing I've done. I wasn't expecting the amount of politics in this. It's running. Shoes on, just run. Like, how hard is it? It's, you lose sleep, you look at things, you reflect, and you say, I could have done better with that, or we could have done better than that. And right now, we need to do a bloody lot better to get this sport, to show that we're here for this sport, because there's still unhappy people. And I'm the president. That reflects on me, and that reflects on the committee. And that's how I look at it. And the committee, we've got good people within the committee, and we support and back each other, but we need to do better.
Thank you for your honesty, Gary. This is, it's important for the audience to know, Autra is looking after a lot. I mean, our sport isn't just a little bit of running further than a marathon, it's on trail, it's around tracks, it's mountain running, trail running, of course, like you mentioned, because it used to be Aura. So Aura was obviously a little bit more, not biased, but kind of catered towards the 100K on the road and the track. 24, 48 hour or 6 hour on the track, which is still an ultra. And now we've taken in trail running, which, I mean, I discussed this with our Swiss coach, Gabriel, a few episodes ago. Trail running is definitely where everything's heading, because people realize in countries like China and India, and I know you've coached people in these two countries, and Japan and places like that, even Korea now, we don't want to forget. Korea is huge. They've got a lot of mountains. We always see cities in these countries. I mean, Hong Kong is a city, but it's made up of mountains, let's be honest. So you've got that environment everywhere. So that's where it's heading, because I mean, the new gear coming out of China and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not biased towards anything. I buy what suits me, and that's it. And then I talk about it if people are interested. So trail is definitely the way to go. And if you say 83% of all the members at Autra are trail runners, then it makes it quite important to look after that as well.
It is. Let me, that was where we're at. I haven't answered what we're doing, right? But the responsibility of Autra, you're right. We look after 50K, 100K on road, but we look after that with Australian athletics. So we've got, a relationship that we're building, I think, really well with the person that we deal with there, Adam. And we've had some great discussions on, how we can work better at that sport. We also have trail running, which we have to work with Australian athletics as well. And then, the 24-hour running, that sits under us. The thing is, we could look at, it's 83%. That's where it's going. But we have a rich history within 24-hour racing, and we need to protect that. And there's a lot of challenges around that sport at the moment, which I won't go into. If anyone wants to know, they can, when they see me at a race, I'll chat about it all day. But there's a lot of challenges around that. There's a lot of challenges around the 100K and 50K. But we, just the other day, there's a performance paper being circulated around some people within Autra on how we can prepare our national teams better at these races. And, we're identifying, we haven't got the clean paper yet, but we're identifying our top 10, 15 list items on that, and we'll just work through it. And, because it's a responsibility. Yeah, trail is where it is at the moment, but we need to protect those other parts of the sport as well. And we're going to do that. One thing that we've done that I think we're all proud of is introduce our playbook, our 5-year plan, and that can be found on the Autra website. I'm not going to go into that on the podcast, but that's all up there. That's the first functioning playbook or plan of the sport that's been done since 2019. And the sport's been screaming for it. We did it. We got put in May, and we were having, wow, that first 6 weeks, there was a committee meeting every 2 weeks, which was awesome because it showed that the people that were elected wanted to get stuff done. And it hasn't been easy, but, that playbook was released in October. Straight off the bat, we had to select, teams. We had the World Trail Championships as well, which that was mainly involved with the previous committee in Australian athletics. That yes, we didn't podium. I know you and I have had discussions around the results, but we were the 11th best performing team on the world stage. I think that's a tick, and we can only grow from there. But the thing I like, I could go on about other things that we're doing and talking, trying to do. That's all talk, right? We've got to show that we're doing that. Do you know what I like is I'm getting sent podcasts where they're talking about Autra. One, they're saying, who's Autra? But then 2, they're discussing our sport, whether it be 24-hour, 100K, 50K, or trail. They're agreeing with some stuff that we do. They disagree with what we do. That's good. They're talking about the sport. That's what I want. If we've done that in the first 9 months, right, and it's gaining more traction, awesome. When I was elected, I said, it's not my voice. I've got views and opinions on everything that I would argue and debate all day, but it's not my voice. I came in here for the voice of athletes, runners, members, RDs, volunteers. When words come out of my mouth, right, I'm thinking of those guys, the amount of conversations, especially Jeff Russell and I. Jeff Russell is awesome. I call him the trail dude, not like the dude out of The Big Lebowski. His passion for trail, and what he knows about it, and his willingness to just chat with anyone and talk, it's brilliant. And these are the people that we need on the committee to drive our sport, because we can sit at home and work as, we need to be silent. We need to be in the background. We can sit at home and just go about our business and doing things, but you need to be out at the races, chatting to people, talking to people. Do you like this? Do you not like this? That's where the ideas come from. Like, not just 6 people that's been elected by members, but from the athletes. And I've always, again, I'll use those words, create opportunities and experiences. I've always backed my athletes, that. And that's one of the big driving forces in this role as well. We need to back the sport. We need to back the people that want to be part of our sport. And that's not us, that's all the members and the RDs and everyone that's involved in Autra.
Such a fantastic view. I think before I go to the next, because I know I want to know where this is heading, where are the opportunities? Obviously, there's always risks and challenges involved, but you've hit the nail on the head there. If you want to find out something about someone or something, you need to ask the right questions, or you need to at least ask questions, and then focus on the 2 ears that we've got, listen, and then move on. And that can be, feedback is always good. I always said there's no such thing as negative feedback.
Nah.
No feedback is negative. Every other feedback is a positive, because that's where we're going to learn. When we take on runners, we ask them a lot of questions, and then we have an understanding of how we're actually going to start coaching them. And the same should be with Autra, I guess, So.
In this position, it's expected to get feedback, whether you like it or not. Suck it up if you don't like it. So it's just how it is. Goes with the job, with the position.
Yeah, look, it's the CEO thing, You know, I know CEOs who like a pat on the
What's a
back.
CEO? I don't know. Is
I'm
that a
just saying,
corporate
you know,
thing?
sometimes they're the head of a company, you know.
Oh, okay.
And I always compare it, you know, and I'm like, and I'm into this whole leadership thing, as you know, and a lot of people know this. It's like the CEO will be the last guy who ever gets a pat on the back. That's
Yeah.
what he signs up for, right? If you want a pat on the back, you have to be a little bit lower. You also get one on the head every so often.
Yeah.
But, you know, this whole value for money thing, first and foremost, you need to have a big chest and big shoulders and all this kind of stuff the higher up you are. And every so often, if you do get a win, that win is huge. There is
Yeah.
no doubt. It's
Yeah.
not a little win. It's a huge win. But they don't come often. And if one is not prepared to do that, I guess it makes it really hard. So what are the biggest opportunities ahead now for Autra?
The biggest opportunities. Good question. Oh, you stumped me, Mario.
Look, or, you know, what are the biggest risks now? Moving on, what are the
Biggest,
biggest risks or
it's not
challenges
risk.
that might make it easier?
There's just so much going through my mind because we're in a boom. You've got Backyard Ultra. You've got a Backyard Ultra world champion. You got 24 hours. You got a 24-hour world record breaker silver medalist, so close to the gold. The opportunities for us is we've got a playbook that we brought in last year, October, and we've got some key things on there where we want to take our sport. They are they're not the opportunities, they're where we want to take the sport. The opportunities are for people to get involved in what we do. You know, we've got a AGM coming up in 3 months at the end. Yeah, in 3 months. The date hasn't been set yet. And that's an opportunity for people to get on board and help us. We're only 6 people with some other people that are like helping us. We've just brought on a marketing and sponsorship. So there's opportunities there. We want to tell our story better in what we do. That's growth. We want, you know, do we want more recognition at the top end of our sport? Yeah, we do, but because at the end of the day, that's why we do this. However, we want more people involved in our sport. Like I said, we're in a running boom that will end one day, as all booms do, or it'll plateau. We need to prepare for that. We need the opportunity for us, okay, is to walk alongside our race directors and our volunteers and our runners, okay, continue listening and keep growing the sport and making little old Australia, the little island, okay, that sits down here in the globe. People can look at us and they say, these guys do the things right. They look after everyone. They're the opportunities that we've got.
But look, that's us Australians as well. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. We look after one another. I mean, I always go back to what's happening now, the Winter Olympics. There's 53 Australian athletes at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Sorry, 53.
Yeah.
That's Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Huh? So, you know, guys in the luge we don't even have a luge in Australia. We have a few moguls in Melbourne, and with what I've learned in the last 2 days. But that's amazing. And they look after one another. You know, if you watch it on TV now, and obviously when this podcast comes out, probably the Olympics will be over. But there's Aussies everywhere from different sports, you know, making sure they cheer on everyone else. And this has to, or it will happen, I know. And I think that's probably one of those opportunities as well, where, yeah, the guy who runs on the track, who loves the track, says, hey, hell yeah, I'm going to give it a crack on the trail, or vice versa. I mean, I'm dabbling into thinking maybe one day I should do a track event. Yeah, younger people, right? I would like to just, you know, transfer it over to, you know, younger athletes, younger runners. You know, before I come to the, you know, what advice do we give to young ultra runners? How young is too young, and so on? That's something I would like to elaborate on further with you as well from a coaching perspective. But fun events like Backyard Ultras, they're here. right?
Yeah.
And
And they're here to
I've not
stay.
done one. I've put my hand up. I haven't done one, but definitely
I've,
watched a hell of a lot.
you
That's
know,
where the youngsters might come in, maybe.
correct. We've had conversations, around backyard ultras, and yeah, there's a lot of traditional runners that don't like it. But in every sport, right, the sport changes. And I hope we talk about that further along, because being involved in the sport, coaching for 21 years, but high performance for the last 14, the sport changes. And it ties back into creating those opportunities and being part of something that, is the now. You've got to look, this is how we are now, but where do we want to be in 5 years' time? And how's the sport going to look in 5 years' time? And it's no different to coaching as well. You know, yourself. I always try and say to the athletes, look at yourself where you want to be 4 to 6 weeks down the track, and then 12 months and in 2 years. Think about the athlete that you want to be. It's the same in this. It's like, where do we want the sport? We want good membership base. We want races being listed with us. Uh, you know, it's like people being part of our volunteer month that we're bringing in, people going out, helping regenerate the trails, and the single track guys down in Victoria are doing an amazing job on that over the last 2 years. And, they're setting the blueprint for that. We've got amazing people in our sport, and there's opportunities right through it. So, yeah, that's that.
So yeah, people, if you want to get involved anywhere,
We
I'm
need you.
always gonna, get into it, volunteer, help somewhere, go to
And,
something else, that always comes to mind from my end. I mean, I'm not a mountain biker. I would probably break my neck on it, and we've tried it, and that's it. They do one thing really well, mountain bikers. They look after their trails.
yeah,
Let's start simple. I'm not an evangelist, never will be, never have been. But let's look after simple things like the outdoors. Where do we want to run? Often, UTA struggles putting it on. I'm just bringing it up now because it's important to me. When there's a bit of rain in the Blue Mountains, a lot can happen. The
yeah,
first thing people ask, when can I go run again? No
yeah,
one says, what can I do so me and my friends can go running again? All right. How many trees do I need to move from the path so that we can go running again? Everybody's always, oh, when can I run again? So this is just something to think about and sit on. We don't need to become the Autra president
no,
to
no,
help out. We can
yeah,
do a lot of things in the background. I am as loud and proud as I am. I don't always want to be in the foreground. It's nice
yeah,
to just be in the back, do some stuff, do some good, and move on, and then make sure
yeah,
we've done something. Yeah,
yeah.
good.
Do you
Okay.
know the when I talk about the sport, and whether it's coaching or being part of Autra, I get told, it's like, oh, you're so passionate about it. It's like, yeah, I'm passionate, but I'm not, right? I believe in what we're doing, like our playbook that we put together, and I encourage people to, jump online, and hopefully you can put that in part of the link when you put
Yeah,
this
I'll
up.
put a link to Autra, of
Yeah.
course. Absolutely.
We believe in it. And when you believe in something, and, you've got your goals and you know where you're going, it's like, right, let's just get down to work and do it, So, yeah, I'm not passionate. I just believe in it. Maybe I still don't. I stepped into this role, going back to that earlier question, because I felt there was a need to. And I was disappointed. I don't know if you were on that AGM last year. And I said I was disappointed that I was the only one that put my hand up for president.
I was on
Was
it. Yeah.
surely, with the hundreds of thousands, pushing 1 million people running in our country, they want to be part of it. But that just showed me where the governing body is. And if I get 3 people at the next AGM challenging me and I get voted out, am I going to be upset or worried? Absolutely not, because it's 2 people more than put their hand up before. And if someone feels they can do a better job than me or any position in the committee, that's awesome, right? It's because we've set paths. We've got people talking, whether you like it or not. We've set paths. But I'll, reaffirm we've got a lot of bloody work to do, man. A lot.
And it becomes important to people if there's more who want to apply,
Yeah.
Good. Let's go to running a little bit. So your running accomplishments, I don't know them off by heart.
I
will
run a
let you
bit.
talk about it. You do a lot of running, and I know you've achieved a lot of things. But
Yeah.
before we talk about your running, what advice would you now give to new ultra runners? So you've got someone coming in, say, hey,
Any runner.
I want to be an ultra runner. What would be
An
your
ultra
best
runner?
advice? Just sticking to ultra just now before we go back to some sharper stuff, because that's the where it's heading, right? Everybody runs one marathon. Oh yeah, I've done that. Tick the box. I don't want to run another one. They all want to run the next big 50K, 50 mile, and 100K on trail normally as well. So what's your first best advice?
First bit of advice is consistency. It's going to take you 4 to 6 years, depending on your sporting background and all of that. But it's probably going to take you 4 to 6 years to where you want to get to. So you got to be patient. You need patience because ultra running is all about patience, and you need to ride with the highs and, flow with the lows, because that's part of our sport. Yeah. It's simple. It's not complicated.
Yeah, handling failures and DNFs and setbacks and things like that. Yeah. Good. All right. Your own running, Gary. Where did it start? You said you ran a little bit, but you didn't take it too serious.
As a youth and all of that, I ran a bit. Like, I played AFL, and actually I played all the codes. I've always loved sport. It's just been in my nature. I remember when I was 10 years old watching Deke win the Commonwealth Games in Brisbane. And then when I would have been maybe 9 or 10, around the same age, watching Dave Scott. I used to, on a Saturdays, probably before you came here, Wild World of Sports, right? And they used to cover the Ironman race in Hawaii, and watching Dave Scott. And when I was 18, I bought his training book, and I've still got it, so got into endurance. And I ran my first marathon at 21. I did the Hawaii Marathon, and went over there. It was like 4 weeks out. My girlfriend at the time said, do you want to go over to Hawaii for a holiday? Yep, cool. There's a marathon over there. I'll run that. I was on the party bus that stays out to 2 a.m., 2 nights before. It's 21, man. Just run it. So first marathon was 3 hours 35, and it was like 99% humidity. The race started about 5. It was still dark when we started, but it was awesome. But then I went away and worked my butt off for 10 years. Got up to 95 kgs. My mate said to me, he goes, oh, do you want to go and run the Red Cliff 10K? I went, yep, cool. So started coming back into that, and just, kept running. We moved to Sydney. All of a sudden I'm running 38, 37, 36. I was working for Ken 2 on their Northern Beaches pods, and it was 2011 Sydney Marathon. It was like the day when at 7 a.m. it was 28 degrees at the start line, got to 36. And Annie from Ken 2 said, yeah, you can go out, run your marathon, but then you got to go back out and look after everyone else. So I went, yep, cool. So by the time I stopped my watch, it was just under 57 kilometers. And I'm like, I wonder if there's any races longer than marathon. Found Narrabeen All-Nighter. My wife, Anna, and I said, let's do it. We did one run where we ran from Drummoyne to Coogee. And so that was our longest training run. Went out, ran 114 Ks, and was like, don't mind this. Found a track race where I first met Keith Hong running around a track, throwing up in a garbage bin. And I'm like, I only ever do that if I'm doing 300s or 400s flat out. Like, what's going on here? And by 2015, like I got the ultra bug. I had 2 attempts at 24 hours. That didn't quite work, but that was ego. I look back at my splits 2 years ago, And for the first 6 hours, I was averaging 4:45 pace, which at that time was about 10 seconds faster than the world record pace. So learned, and then saw there was 100K. It's good enough to get onto the team. So I've represented 3 times. I had a DNF at my last one. I've ran a 2:31 marathon over in Japan. I've ran several sub 2:40s. I've got a semi-decent 10K. I'm a good runner, not a great runner. I'm a good runner. I love it. I've never done it. You want to run faster and you want to run PBs. But, you said at the beginning, I've always been a coach first, runner second. I've done it because I loved it. Back in 2010 with the guys that I used to hang out, I'd do Canberra Marathon or 50K every year. And I'd go out, but on the Friday, we'd do a 6-hour strength session, outdoor strength session that was running and Awaba Street in Balmoral and carrying 20 liters of jerry cans and just this crazy ass stuff. And then go and run a 2:48 marathon 2 days later. So it's always been fun. I love it. I love the pain. I love not achieving the goals because you get hungry for more. And I think I said we were having a discussion on Wednesday, yourself and Tel said, you're not getting any younger. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know what? I even though I'm slower now than what I was, I still get that same thrill out of pushing myself hard or going out and running a marathon or, I ran a trail marathon last year and started cramping, ridiculous cramps at 30 Ks. And it's like, you still know how to work out. You still know how to manage those cramps and work your way through it. Like they're fun things, man. Running's awesome. It's fun. It's a simple sport.
It should be simple, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, this is so good because this whole pain thing, I think if you ask 99.9 or if you ask all the elites of any sport, I bet they embrace the hurt and say, yeah, this is why I do it. This is why I train to then have the tools to overcome that pain, work through it. It's, I mean, I love it. I'm not fast, but I definitely like the hurt and the suck and, just coming off last November again, when people say, well, what makes you, and I'm like, mate, I'm waiting, I'm running along, and then it comes and it hits. And then it's like, yes, now it's go time. Now, Mario, show what you're made of. And I think over any distance or any sport, that's what people embrace, I think. Good. Look, this has been fantastic. We're not closing just yet, Gary. I'm not letting you go just yet. Just the first thing that comes to mind now for a bit of an energy lift, and then we're going to hit you with some quick fire questions. Just a quick energy lift, 1 or 2 sentences or a phrase. I know you've got an array of mentors that you look back on. You've got one of my favorite runners on your T-shirt, Steve Prefontaine. You mentioned Deeks, which for people who listen from around the world might not know him as Deeks. His name is Roberto Di Castello, although they call him Robert here. But he has an Italian-Swiss background, for those who don't know. That's why I like him so much, because he comes from Switzerland. His father was Swiss. His grandfather was, I'm probably getting it wrong, was Italian-Swiss, but they moved here many, many years ago. So, yeah. What's your energy lift, Gary?
My energy lift?
Yeah, the best phrase, the best thing you've ever heard from one of your mentors or a book you read?
There's no one phrase, Mario, that comes to mind. Like there's hundreds that we can throw out there. Probably the ones associated to me are probably more self-reflection than to do with running. But energy lift, you've got to, the energy is, you got to love what you're doing in anything. And it's why coaching is also about life. You got to love it. You've got to have a drive. What drives you towards it? Why are you doing this race? Some people just do it for, to tick the box. Other people want to do it because they're chasing PBs, or like, something else out of it. You look at the people in TRT, there's a wide range of humans. They've all got their different reasons that they chase things. But the one at the moment, okay, from Cameron Haynes, who's this guy I followed, bow hunter, endurance runner. He's, him and his sons are stirring up the marathon world at the moment. It's like show
The
up.
guy in the jeans, right?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, it's show up. There's many different types of athletes that we coach, right? There's some that show up 3/4 of the time, but then when it comes to racing, they really show up, right? There's others that think they show up at the sessions, but there's something holding them back, right? As coaches, you've got to work that out. But it's just constantly showing up and ticking the boxes and doing all of those, as you call it, the 1%ers, just doing it. If you want it, right, show up. Like, you go to, I look at it and people aim for the corporate ladder. They go school, uni, extra courses, chasing it. They put in a lot of hours, okay, which let's not talk about the unhealthy lifestyle there, right? But if you're a runner or any other sport and you want it, wanting it that's yours, you own it, show up, just get it done, right? And keep working at it 4 to 6 years if you're a new runner. Be patient. That's the motivator. That's the get out of bed, right? You can have 1,000 words, but if you don't read those words, it comes down to you.
They mean nothing.
Comes
It's
down
simple.
To you gotta want it.
Show up or it'll show you up on race day. It's quite a simple analogy. Yeah. Good. All right. Some questions to finish off.
Aren't we talking more about coaching? What was that?
We will. We'll have a round 2. Trust me.
All right. Okay.
I have a few ideas. Don't you worry.
Dear.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there will be a part 2, 100%.
All right.
Trail or road, Gary?
Both.
Okay, 50-50, huh? Mountains or desert? Because I know you've been in both.
Yeah. Tough one. Now I'll go mountains.
Excellent. Favorite race distance? You've run it all. There has to be one where you say, yeah.
There are two. It's a tough one because each one I've achieved, it's been magical, but K and marathon, there's just something special about those two.
Yeah. Everybody at the 40K mark in a marathon says, bloody hell, why is it 42? So yeah. So for all these distances, there has to be a lot of sessions that we do, a lot of running, like you said, get up. So what's your least favorite session? Because I think we've never, ever spoken about that. You know mine, there's a few. But what's your least favorite session, you say? For what? And then why? I would like to know why.
2 minutes up a hill, recover down, 1 minute up a hill, recover down, but working at 5K, 10K feel, and do that for half an hour. It hurts because you want to be going, your gradient is like 8 to 10%. I used to do it down at Tunks. My coach then used to get me to do that and hurt. And it was the one session I never looked forward to getting out of bed and doing. And that was my toughest session. I knew why I was doing it, and yeah, it paid off. But for me, it was just hard. And you know me, I love hills, but that one was hard because you want to work, you want to be going faster, but you're not. But your legs go, your lungs go. 2.5 minutes down the hill is not enough recovery time to keep doing it. Tough session.
That's the key. You never recovered in between a rep, So last one, pre-race meal. What's your favorite pre-race meal? What gets you to the finish
Breakfast
line?
or dinner?
Yeah, depending on, you can have both. Yeah. Favorite breakfast and favorite dinner.
Shank. What has always worked for me is a lamb shank and polenta the night before. And the morning of, I'm not like, get up. Depends on the race, right? If it's a marathon, it's probably a banana, a slice of toast 2 hours before. If it's anything over 100, it might be a little bit more. And then it's like that 45 minutes out, what I'm taking in,
Yeah.
Yeah, fuel and all of that. So, yeah, but the night before, lamb shank and polenta.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. I think we'll have to put that on the menu. I think in my next newsletter, we need to put a good lamb shank on a polenta. Gary's favorite pre-race meal. I love it. Look, I'm not going to ask Strides or Vibes because this is the Strides and Vibes podcast. So from the bottom of my heart, Gary, I know this means a lot to you and it means a hell of a lot to me that you came on our podcast.
No, of course.
For us to discuss. And like I said, we will have a coaching specific podcast coming up over the next few months as well. Because the reason I'm saying that, there's a lot of things going on at this moment in time out there. And I really want the world to know what the whole coaching, there's AI in the game and so on. So I want to have one podcast where we say, okay, what's good for who, and just like we dissect it a little bit, not be evangelistic about it, but it's Gary Mullins and Mario Buchs' take on where coaching is heading. And I think that's worth a podcast on its own because I don't want to tarnish the fact that today it was all about you and Autra and TRT and what you've achieved in your life.
Do you know what? That's going to be one hell of a discussion because it is something over the last month I've been, just looking ahead. You know me, I always want to know where the sport's going next. I've got some really big thoughts on that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gary, for coming on. People,
remember,
Stride
can help us
longer.
Dude.
Yes, I'll put it all on the in the show notes. People can download everything they need. The playbook, which I know in my little world, in the corporate world, how much work that takes and how much effort that takes. And you've done a fantastic job there. And keep doing what you're doing, Gary. Stay in the stride and vibe mode, people. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace out. Bye. That's it for this episode, folks. As we wrap up, I want to honor the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on and pay my respects to elders past and present. May we continue to listen, learn, and tread lightly wherever we run. If today's episode sparked something in you, hit that share button, leave a review, or drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Every little bit helps keep the momentum going. Or even if you've got a question, feedback, or just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep moving, stay curious, and never forget, showing up is the hardest and bravest stride of all.